Secretary of State John Kerry declared Thursday at a news conference that ISIS is committing genocide against Christians and other minorities in the Middle East, including Yazidis and Shiite Muslims. And this is the first time yet we're hearing the Obama administration come out with a statement. We have heard, the Parliament, the U.S. Holocaust Museum even, and Hillary Clinton say that these actions are genocide. This also comes days after the House had voted 393-0, pretty much backing this declaration up. So, of course, there's questions as to, the delay and also what changes this bring. There is a statement, though, from John Kerry. He says, Daesh is genocidal by self-proclamation, by ideology, and by actions in what it says, in what it believes, and in what it does. We must recognize what Daesh is doing to its victims. Naming these crimes is important, but what is essential is to stop them. It's also important to note, too, that March 17th was the day that he had to kind of come out with this official deadline. Yeah, and the state also even hours before he finished the review, said he wasn't going to announce it, but yeah, he did. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, you asked the question, what does this mean moving forward? Mm-hmm. I'm not so sure that anything is going to change as far as policy goes. I think this is namely symbolic. I think it's a gesture. Mm-hmm. We see a lot of the times throwing the word genocide out can, politicize things. Maybe get the people on your side if you want to go invade a country, for example. You might cite genocide happening in that country. I don't think that's the case. Mm-hmm. We're already working on what we're working on against ISIS, right? So I don't think anything's going to change as far as policy, and perhaps, there are some undertones as well for the Obama administration themselves. If you want to take a step back and maybe look at some undertones here, this could also possibly take, the wind out of people's sails who want to sit back and say, oh, the president, he doesn't, that Muslim president with that Muslim middle name, he doesn't want to, name the systematic killing of Christians in the Middle East genocide, right? Mm-hmm. So he's going to take the wind out of anyone's sail who has that point of view, because people are always looking for a reason to jump on Obama. Whatever they can get, they'll take it, and they'll turn it into something. So there's that as well. So, like I said, namely symbolic in my opinion. Mm-hmm.
No, you make a good point. Of course, like you said, genocide is a very tricky word, a term, an idea to just blatantly say, and it's used very carefully, mm-hmm. Especially in the history. Second time since 2004 we declared genocide in Darfur. So again, it's very tricky. And also, like you mentioned too, I mean, to say it's a war about Muslims versus Christians, it's without kind of reviewing the exact amount of reports of deaths and what's been happening. There were reports in August 2014, and about 5,000 Yazidi men were captured and killed. 50,000 women were also trapped. There was even a report about over 1,100 Christians were also killed by ISIS.
Right, and
so these reports are interesting to note.
And that term genocide covers all of those things, right? Yeah. Genocide isn't only attributed to the systematic killing of a certain group of people mm-hmm.
by
another group of people. What it really encompasses is a lot more than that. So, for example, we do a lot of stories, the extremely sad stories about women who are trafficked, who are basically sold like cattle in these auctions, so to speak. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and it's just terrible what's going on. And I'm glad to see them come out and come out and make this decision, because it's very necessary. I think the world needs to know, and the world needs to talk about these things, yes. But not, like you said, not kind of paint this picture that it's just crimes against Christians that's happening. We have to understand that the vast majority of people who are affected by people like ISIS or terrorism in general are Muslim people, are Arabic people a lot of the time, and that's something that a lot of people overlook. They'll talk about 9/11, they'll talk about whatever they want, Paris, Charlie Hebdo, but what they don't understand that every single day those things are happening in the Middle East, and they get overlooked. So it's important to talk about.
Overlooked, very important to talk about. It does get overlooked. Like we mentioned, the U.S. will continue to do what they do, and this is just something for the history books and also for the public.